I'm University of Illinois Extension's Todd Gleason in studio with us today, ag economist from the UVI, Darrel. Good to take a look at the week's crop production and WASDE figures. Darrel, when you went through those numbers, they showed a smaller crop, for corn at least, than many had expected. Was it outside the range you were looking at?
Not so much outside the range, Todd. I think whether it's 13.8 or 14 billion bushels, it's still a very large crop. I think people were surprised by the relatively low yield that the USDA forecast in August. Maybe equally surprised that they didn't reduce the harvested acreage estimate. So, on balance, the average guess was a bit higher than what the USDA showed, but certainly not a large difference.
The harvested acres they could have taken down, but are they waiting for the FSA numbers, which won't be incorporated until October?
To change the harvested acreage estimate, they have to have some new information, and that's either going to come in their monthly survey where they're asking farmers their harvested acres numbers and their expected yield, or it will come with the so-called administrative data, the FSA data, when that's finalized and will reflect what acreage farmers have certified. And of course, the debate is how much prevent plant was there this year and which crops did not get planted. The market's had this perception that there's been a fair amount of prevent plant that has not yet been reflected in the NASS numbers, and so that's something that will be forthcoming. Traditionally, that is fully reflected in the October crop production report.
Supply is only half of the set of numbers. The WASDE, or World Agricultural Supply and Demand estimates, were released as well. They show consumption. Was that in line with what you were thinking?
It really is. I mean, for the major categories, feed use, exports, and ethanol use of corn, the forecasts were within range. I think anybody can debate a bit on their exact forecast, but the direction is correct. I think we'll probably feed more corn with a larger supply, lower prices, and some expansion in livestock numbers. Ethanol use will rebound, but not much because of the blend wall. I think the trickiest part of the equation is export demand for U.S. corn. We feel like with larger supplies again and more competitive prices in the world marketplace, and then on top of that, maybe some additional Chinese demand, that we can sell more corn this year. But nobody's really optimistic that we're going to get back to where we were 2 years ago, shipping 1.82 billion bushels. So I think the numbers are within the ballpark, show an increase in consumption as you would expect when prices decline.
We'll do it all again in a month. What were your expectations for changes to be?
I wouldn't expect large changes, but if you had to make a guess, I would think maybe the production number will get a little bit larger, depending on how August weather really finishes up here. I would not expect any changes on the consumption side in the balance sheet. It will all be on the production side, I think, come September.
Yeah, at the end of September, we'll also get the last grain stocks report for the year. Will it hold any keys?
I don't think there'll be major surprises this year because in the past the market's kind of concerned about whether old crop and new crop inventories are both counted in that report. It was a bit of an issue last year because of the early harvest of the 2012 crop. I don't see really anything major coming out of that report this year.
I've ignored the soybeans to this point, but can you take me through both sets of numbers for me, please?
In the case of soybeans, again, looking at an increase in production from last year, a crop of 3.26 billion bushels would be up a couple 100 million bushels from last year, but still below our record crops of 2 and 3 years ago. So we have opportunity to expand consumption of soybeans, but not to the same extent we do on corn, I think. And I think soybean demand is robust. We're looking at domestic crush being supported by both increase in livestock numbers and the need for more soybean oil for biodiesel. And we're looking to China to keep our export demand very strong. So we may see some modest buildup in soybean inventories during the year, but unless the production number changes a lot from the August forecast, stocks are going to remain relatively tight on soybeans, suggesting to me that in the scheme of things that soybean prices probably will hold value a little more than corn prices during the upcoming marketing year.
Thanks so much, Darrell.
Thank you.
Darrell Good, ag economist from the University of Illinois. I'm U of I Extension's Todd Gleason.